How many jobs will you have in your entire working career? Yes, the 35 to 40 years on average that people work. From the time, well, they're usually 16. My first job, I lied about my age. I went into a nearby Sizzler Steakhouse. My brother's girlfriend worked there and she said, "We need busboys." So I showed up. I said, "Hey, I'll bus tables." He said, "You gotta be 16. Are you 16? And I lied and said, yes. Not only that, but Sizzler started this thing called an all-you-can-eat shrimp Tuesdays. Nobody wanted to work on Tuesdays. Why? Because for those hundreds and hundreds of shrimp, there were little shrimp tails that wound up everywhere on plates, on the table, on the seats, on the floor, and it was my job to clean them up. The manager said, "Hey, I'll give you $20 extra if you'll work every Tuesday all summer long for this summer job." I said, "You're on." I worked minimum wage, started at 20 hours, wound up working 60 hours, plus that $20 bonus every Tuesday. It was a blast, one of my best jobs.
I love my job.
You hate your job.
I love my job.
So when you get old enough, you'll start to get these letters in the mail from the Social Security Administration, and it will give you your entire work history and what you've contributed, what you've made each year and what you've contributed to Social Security. And when you get old enough, they'll start to tell you, if you retire here, at this age, you'll get this much money. If you get this age, you'll get this much more, a little bit more. And you'll start to get those statements and you'll wonder, maybe it's time for me to retire. What do retirees do anyway? Well, I got news for you. Most retirees these days, after about a year or two of being bored in retirement, they go back to work, make a little extra cash. Things are too expensive or they just don't enjoy the quality of life. But most retirees do fun things like watching the Weather Channel all day long. Could be hobbies, spending time with family, watching TV, traveling, volunteering, attending senior citizens events. Bingo! Well, if that doesn't sound exciting to you, and I don't know what about retirement sounds exciting, because I enjoy working. When I'm not working, I actually look for more work to do, and people look at me and they say, "How come you have so much fun working?" Maybe you haven't discovered the lie, and yes, it's a lie, that if you love what you do, you'll never work another day in your life. Work is work, and that's a lie we tell ourselves. So, how many jobs have you had already? And how many more jobs do you think you'll have until you can't work anymore? Retirement or death or both? How many jobs do you think you will have over your entire working career of 35 to 40 years? Yeah, the length of working has extended from 30 to 35 to 35 to 40. The economy, sorry about that. And here's the question, what difference does it make? Well, let's find out. Tap the like button and let's get to work. Hi, I'm James Callahan, and this is The Do-Over Show, and this topic is perfect for you if you're in the middle of a do-over, because that means usually a new job, even a change of career pathways. And I sat down and counted how many different jobs, different employers I've had in my working career, and I was shocked by the number. But I'll stick around to the end, and I'll share that with you, and I'll go through the list of jobs. But in the meantime, let's figure out, on average, how many jobs you could expect to work throughout your working career. Now, the average might surprise your great-grandfather, but for us it seems maybe even a little low that 12 or 13 jobs is the average someone in the workforce today, average age in their late 30s, will work over their entire career. But the number of jobs is increasing because the younger you are, the more often you're finding new jobs or you're switching jobs. Add to that the pandemic and the loss of jobs and the shifts in the job market. And now it's not unusual to have gaps in our resume or work experience, and it's not unusual to switch jobs, on average, between every 2 to 3 years. Yeah, great-grandpa wouldn't have thought that was possible, working for that good old company with his pension, everything all set, working for the same company, retiring with a gold watch and a cake. It's estimated that most people will have at least a dozen jobs during their lives. 32% of those 25 to 44 years old have considered a job change. That is, you're thinking, maybe I should get a different job. And since starting their first job after college, 29% of people have completely changed their career fields. And today, with job mobility being a much more normal concept, and even working remotely means you don't have to move from your location to work for a company in another city, another state. That is, up to 39% of today's workforce is considering a new job soon, next, now. The number one reason people give is not a bad boss, although that's in the top three. They don't quit a job, they quit a boss is the HR expression. But today, 39% of the people who are going to make a job change or want to make a job change soon, next, now, 39% say it's for the money. Yep, more money.
I'll do it, John, but not because of your little speech, but because I need the money. Hard to believe after all these years, but I need the money.
Changing jobs, even changing entire career paths, has accelerated with COVID and the phenomena called the Great Resignation. Hey, I've done a really good video on the series of things that have contributed to the Great Resignation, what it means for you, what you can do about it, what you can do to take advantage of it, and you can check that video out here. Now, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that's BLS, that's the U.S. government's tracking of all these employment numbers. That's where we get our best data from. Now, according to the BLS, the current workforce has been on average in their job for 4.6 years. The younger you are, the more often you'll change jobs. The older you are, the more you'll stay, the longer you'll stay in your current job. Men tend to stay a little bit longer in their roles than women in today's working environment. And it also depends on what level of work you are. Managers, for example, professionals, similar occupations, they tend to average 5.5 years at the same job. Medium tenure of workers in service occupations. In the service and hospitality sector, average just 3.2 years. And quite frankly, that seems like a high number knowing people in the hospitality industry. Workers who are age 65 and older have averaged now on their job a tenure of over 10 years. But workers who are 25 to 34 years of age average just over 3 years in their current roles. So I mentioned the large percentage of shifts that happen, not just in jobs, but in careers. A job is, you go to a job, if it's no experience necessary, you're the first one to be let go, as well as the first one hired. But a career is something where you build up expertise and capacity and you become valuable because you have experience in that, you have some credentials, you have an education maybe that contributes to it. So with COVID and what people call now the post-COVID crush in employment, that is that this work has changed and some jobs have completely evaporated. With the onset of AI and generative AI, some people, especially in white-collar professions, are realizing that their clerical jobs no longer exist and Bard or ChatGPT can do them just as fast or better. So that means that careers are evaporating. So people are shifting career paths, parallel paths, transferable skills, fantastic opportunities if you're up for it. According to the U.S. Small Business Administration, there are 33.2 million businesses in the United States in 2023. The number includes corporations as well as independent contractor, shell companies. 81% of those businesses have no employees. So that significantly impacts the number. LLCs and S-Corps and things like that. Yeah. Small businesses account for 99.9% of all U.S. firms. Shoot. But here's the kicker. One of the shifts that was caused by COVID is that over 20% of small businesses, which is the single largest employer, over 46% of all people who are employed by a small business, that over 20% of those businesses closed, shuttered their doors, and probably haven't reopened or may never reopen. Although it takes about 5 years for the effects in the workforce to find their way to sort of a mature number. So we're not quite sure yet how many have yet to reopen, because reopening a business takes a little effort, time, and a little extra money. So for those businesses, it's caused a shift. And if you've been in that situation, you're in a do-over, and you're in a do-over in a new career path. So let's ask this question. If you're making a change for those new career paths, what are the career paths, the areas that have the greatest potential upside, just in terms of percentages? May not be the total number of jobs. I mean, if there's one job and they add another job, woohoo, doubled. But if there are 1 million jobs and it doubles to 2 million jobs, that's a number we can all live with. So what are those jobs that have exponential growth possibilities in the next few years? Well, those occupations include wind turbine service technicians, nurse practitioners, statisticians, I wouldn't have guessed that one, home and professional healthcare aides, physical therapist assistants, medical and health service managers, and physician's assistants or PAs. Do you see a trend there? Yeah, people in healthcare and health-related areas. They're the high demand areas that will experience growth in the next few years. But wait, you're saying, I already have my degree, I already have my skills or my certifications, and so I want to use that in my career and I want to do what I went to school to do, right? Only 21% of today's workforce is using all the skills that they were given through their college or graduate school degree or their technical school degree, their certifications. Only 20% plus are actually using their education in their full-time job today. So 1 out of 5, yep, I can do math. In addition to the basic numbers that a little over 20% are actually using their degree or their certifications and 39% are looking for a job because they want to make more money, what are the other numbers that would impact your life and your future, your career, the kind of jobs you'll do? Well, they include, for example, that 70% of the workforce today is actively looking for a change in career, not a change of jobs, not a lateral move, not a job within the same field or same career path, a different career. Only 21% say they are paid what they deserve, in contrast to 45% of workers who say they are rarely or never paid what they deserve. Ouch. Now, today, 74% of the workforce feels that they're hindered by micromanaging and oppressive workforce practices. Like what? Well, like keystroke tracking if you're a remote worker to see if you're actually doing your work, or micromanaging by a boss who is actually constantly not only doing their work, but thinks it's their job to do your work too. That is, that you're not given the sense of freedom and autonomy or accomplishment or professional development, that you actually think that this is a career instead of just somebody who is punching numbers to make a boss happy. And we also have to admit the downside to this remote work and the different work conditions, and that is more than 65% of people today feel a little bit isolated or lonely in the work that they do. Either a lack of recognition, maybe their love language is affirmation, or they just need to be around people, but they realize it's an inconvenience to make all that travel and to lose all that time and money to travel to an office every day. Even as some employers make mandatory return to work a condition for continuing employment, those of us who work remotely, like I do for most of my work, that it actually is a challenge to socialize and to be social. Okay, so that's the workforce today. That's where you find yourself. So let's go back to my story and my numbers. Why? Because it's not 12 or 13 jobs. How many jobs do you think I've had so far, and I'm not done working? How many different employers do you think, different jobs you think I've had in my entire working career? Go ahead, take a guess. You weren't even close. Try 32. 32 different employers, 32 different jobs in my entire working career. Some of them at the same time, multiple jobs, part-time, full-time, a mix of them, and still counting. So here's where they started. Yeah, the busboy that started it. Then I was a bank teller for a summer. I worked as a bagger at a grocery store for a couple months. I was a tennis instructor for summer programs while I worked at an insurance company doing IT, early IT at an insurance company. Then I worked at McDonald's. And I went back after that to being a tennis professional, where I actually ran tennis programs for indoor facilities in the Chicago area and suburbs. I did that for 2 different employers as a tennis professional. Then I ran a park district program and I did a little tennis instruction on the side. Then I was in grad school and I was a grad teaching assistant and research assistant. I had a fully funded scholarship and a scholarship award for my dissertation. And while I did that, I also was a high school tennis coach in the off season, and I helped individuals on the girls' tennis teams at these 3 different high schools in Chicago and Wisconsin where I was in grad school. Then I was a country club rec director, managing a swimming pool and a rec facility, and yeah, there were a couple tennis courts. Then here's where my career took a turn. I was a preacher. I know you didn't see that one coming, but that's what I did. I did everything associated with being a public speaker in a religious context. Yes, I preached, I published, I did all of that. I was also a part-time instructor at 3 different colleges and universities, finishing grad school and early in my career. So that's 16, 17, and 18 for employers. Then I was a full-time visiting assistant professor at a regional private college. And then I spent 5.5 years as a tenure track professor working at another college in the area. And while I was doing that, I started going back to preaching in order to supplement my income because I wasn't making a lot at this small college. And then I also, while I was full-time as a preacher and doing pastoral work, I was a golf instructor. Yes, golf instructor for summer programs. After that, I was a general manager for a family friend for their burger startup, and I ran that for a few months and got their labor costs down. And then I moved into the nonprofit world, and I was a development director for the second oldest homeless and recovery shelter in Illinois, and helped them raise in a building campaign, a capital campaign, as well as their regular giving. And that's where I learned to apply my writing and research and presentation skills in the nonprofit world to raise money. And I've helped international nonprofits in my 10 years plus working in this sector. I've helped them directly raise over $100 million for their nonprofit work. After that, I was a senior writer for an international nonprofit, and I was promoted to be senior director of communications and ran their international communications wing. Then I was a major donor fundraiser for an international community development nonprofit and helped them raise a lot of money. And during all this time, I was an adjunct professor at 5 different public colleges and universities, undergrad and grad school. So that's 27, 28, 29, 30, and 31. And today I'm a director of communications for a workforce development agency. Yeah, 32 different jobs and counting. And wow, I think I won for the highest number. Let me know in the comments if you can beat 32. And thanks for being part of the Do-Over Show. Please, could you tap the like button? Because it really helps. And while you're down there, how about you subscribe and ring that notifications bell so you don't miss the next episode. I'm so glad you found me and I found you. Thanks.